Hello, hello, and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny, and for the week of October 7th through the 13th, the sun is in gate 57 and the earth in gate 51.
Yeah, either way these two go, they end up at the teller of the news in the Clarion, which we'll talk about when we get to the crosses.
Thank you to everyone who's watching, liking, subscribing, hanging out with us. We love having you here, and let's get into it. Here we have our mandala body graph view where we can see the sun is in gate 57, which is intuitive insight, and that's a splenic gate. And the earth is in gate 51, which is arousing and shock, and that's a will center gate.
The ability to know now when the arousing should be, and the capacity and bravery of the arousing to know that they know it now. This thing goes together, and the arousing is quite something. So when we talk about how this thing is grounded, we'll see a lot more about what these two gates are doing together, because 57 all by itself is this gift of amazing clarity. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. And it is so different, yet it goes right together with 51.
Here we have the sun in gate 57, which is the gentle and the gate of intuitive insight, the extraordinary power of clarity. Gate 57 is a splenic gate, and it actually has 3 different channel connections. So it has 2 part of the integration circuitry, which is about self-empowerment. So it links up with gate 10, which is behavior, and the 5710 make up the channel of perfected form. And then it also links up with gate 34, which is power, and the 5734 make up the channel of power. And then finally, it also has an individual circuitry, part of the knowing circuit, which is empowerment. And it links up with gate 20, which is now, and the 5720 make up the channel of the brainwave. Gate 57 is the capacity to penetrate one's core in the now, with the deep inner attunement to sound that's constantly alert to vibrations coming from your physical, emotional, and psychic environment. It's the intuitively attuned right ear that's alert and focused in the now.
Yeah, this gate is incredible. It's the first gate of our overall survival, just as a species, from back in the beginning. This gate is responsible for empowering all the things that we needed to have in order just to survive. The only part of integration that it didn't have, or the one regarding survival that it didn't have, would be a 3420. But either way, you add these things up, it's doing a lot of work. That's the point. 3 separate channels, 1 gate for which it has to be, and we can't overstate this word, extraordinary power of clarity. That gives a hint as to the name. We also have to realize the name of the time when they were being named. The brainwave is like the capacity to have clairvoyance, the capacity to read minds, ESP, all that stuff that used to have all this folklore around it. I grew up with that, of course, and there's so much to it, and it is that capacity. That's why we have folklore around it, like always. So this extraordinary power of clarity is our capacity to have what's called intuition. An intuition that is able to manifest and act, go straight to the throat, go straight to the sacral, it goes straight to the behavior. All of these things are going to act out something. And you put them all together, and they have the capacity to act with great power now, knowing why they're doing it. 57 applies I know why when it comes to the voices of integration. And when it comes to just the name of the channel, again, as the brainwave, this is our capacity to have such extraordinary clarity, comma, or not. That's the thing. There's always or not. We spend all our time worrying about the or not. And we got to, every time we focus in on, oh, yes, we can have incredible clarity, we start to realize every once in a while we see beyond the pale, don't we? We see beyond that ring past not. I think I said it this way once before, whereby the thing we didn't think we could see. We hear something that gives us a piece of knowledge that only came true later. It's almost as if the field of consciousness is everywhere already, sort of like all the other fields, so to speak. So that's what this gate is doing. It's empowering all these things, and it has this incredible clarity that shows up as a potential because or not is there, and because it's in the spleen, and because it's individual, the intuition shows up from the spleen moment to moment. And if you're not listening, you miss it. And the other part of that intuition, this part of this clarity part, is this ability to, again, see beyond, whereby that's just a potential, because if it's clouded by the not self, or if it's not in the pulse of the unique individual, circuitry, you won't see it, you won't receive it. So you wait for the pulse for the creative part, you wait the actual capacity to recognize that you didn't blow it off, right? Because it went into your mind and you thought about it for even a second, you'll miss it. You do all that stuff. And that's why we have seers and knowers and channelers and you and me, Moni. Everyone's got this capacity, by the way. It's inside of all of us. 57's in the world. You have this codon in your body. And so it's just something that we see.
Yeah, it's really interesting because gate 57, the trigrams are wind over wind, and wind is about clarity. It's subtle, far-reaching influence and that kind of knowing. So it's kind of interesting that the trigrams, which we'll get to in a couple of slides, that's what makes up the hexagram of gate 57.
It appears to be our genetic capacity to penetrate almost mystically into that which scientifically does not meet standard Newtonian science type thing. Yeah, so we have that. Yay.
Yes.
Well, think about it. What if this goes on haywire for somebody? Then they're reading auras. They're seeing things that no one else can see ever.
Getting too much information.
What was that movie? I See Dead People.
Oh, the Sixth Sense.
That's 57 would be that sixth sense, essentially. Yep.
Next up, we have the Earth in gate 51, which is arousing in the gate of shock, the ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation. Gate 51 is an ego or will center gate, and it's part of individual circuitry. So think empowerment as your keynote, and it's part of the centering circuit specifically. Gate 51 links up with gate 25, which is innocence, and the 51-25 make up the channel of initiation. Gate 51 is the energy for individual initiative backed by the ego's will and courage, embodying the power to compete and driving you to be one step ahead of everybody and risk going where no one else has gone to find or create a place for yourself. Gate 51 is designed to shock and withstand shock to move others out of complacency and direct them toward personal transcendence and self-love.
That is truly what the warrior spirit is about. The warrior spirit is not simply, rattle your saber at the opposing army. It is literally the warrior spirit to jump into love, because that takes a lot and that's loud. And the unique direction that it picks is in the individual circuitry. It's buried even a little deeper than just the individual circuitry. It's in the sub-circuitry called the centering circuit. And so the centering circuit goes from 51, 25, 10, and down to 34. And it's a design of following one's own convictions. Now, that's the keynote of the channel of exploration, 3410, but that whole keynote carries through these two channels. 51 leaps best upon its own conviction and then can turn around with the ego power that it has and say, hey, follow me. And the thing is, it's shocking. That's why they call it the arousing of the stagnant. Frankenstein, I give you life, that thing was dead. I say that fits the definition of stagnant, and he rose from death. Like, that story has been around forever is what I'm getting at. And all of these stories and all these things that we have, it's always this great warrior spirit that we always want to exalt. And if you really look at all the things that get exalted in this, you'd go to the 6 lines and see that it starts with reference. Don't give up the past just because you're moving into the future. Hang on to those things that mattered. Don't throw it all away. And by the time you're done with the 6-line process, you're into separation, right? It's like, I'm going my own way. I'll just go my own way. Doesn't mean others can't come. So this ego spirit is supposed to do a lot. It's supposed to land onto 25. There's a good debate in which one's actually designed to withstand the shock. It's the 25 that is actually designed to withstand the shock, especially if it's in the vessel, because it's the one always receiving. Ra would always say 51's pretty cool, but at the unique moment of ego magic, there is a leap. Okay. The rest of the time, there's 25. It's like, yeah, you left already. The rest of what's going on here is I'm catching this energy.
I'm catching the chaos.
Yeah, I'm catching the chaos, like a bad cold, if it's not the right thing. So anyways, the whole thing is designed to withstand shock. And I know, and you and I know this. I have a gate 25, and I've always just stood in my own rhythm within shock, essentially. But what does this have to do with 57? They're both unique. They're both individual, right? So that matters. That's a big one. And 57 is so important that the only gate it could choose to have as its companion is the warrior spirit. So as 57 empowers these things that are the guarantee of our human survival, in all things, by the way, not just, in nature against forces of nature, but in all things, in interactions with people in our lives, all the things. It needs its shocking brother to always be there on the other side, that bell is rung so that whenever 57 is around, 51 can't be far. And these two things, when they get together, there's only one possible outcome of it all. They have something to say. It starts out, their penetration, the cross of penetration, when we get to it, they have something to say that is self-absorbed first, and then it moves through to they have something to say that is for everyone else. By the way, it doesn't mean something that's said for everyone else is meant for everyone else, and it doesn't mean something that's self-absorbed is not meant for everyone else. So these two things can all be mixed up in any direction, but that's basically what puts these two together in this way. We need that warrior spirit in order to have the mystical intuition that we have to have our sixth sense. It needs its guardian.
Interesting also because the 51, it's the only individual will center gate. The other three gates of the will, the 21, the 40, and the 26, they're all tribal. And so the only individual will is gate 51, and it's guided by the innocence of gate 25.
Right. The innocence to simply leap. I mean, 51, it's got what's its melancholy? That there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing to do. And it's not straight up boredom like, oh, I've been there, done that. That's 36, 35. This is, I haven't been there yet, but I have been here and it's nothing new anymore. And it longs for the next thing. And that's why it is willing to leap into the void. If you have gate 51, you're willing to do certain things that appear next to the norm as shocking. And it doesn't mean they're not actually shocking. They're quite normal, much of it. Some of it is shocking. Don't get me wrong. Plenty of it is. And I always say to 51s and 25s or the whole channel, it was true for me. Ra would always say it. I find it true with most people. We see our share of blood, our own and others, just blood for whatever reason, because there was something we were daring to do. And some things skin knees and like that. So, what are you going to do? I love my warrior spirit. I don't have it in my body graph. I just have the 25. In Chiron, it got loaned to me through my Chiron return, but it's still not in my natal chart. I've always gotten along with 51s like there's no tomorrow.
Well, you attract them. If you have the 25 without the 51, you're attracting us into your life.
Mm-hmm.
You attract the shock. You bring it in.
Yep. Yeah, hence the debate. Which one is really meant to withstand it, more so? They're probably equal in a way, in their own way.
Yeah, because I mean, my 51 is unconscious, so it's hard to say. I don't realize that I'm shocking and that I'm actually very shocking, or that I jump into all these crazy things. I'm like, I don't know, it seemed like a good idea at the time, especially as a third line. So it's hard to say because I don't have that conscious awareness of my 51, but it definitely feels like the 25 is kind of almost having to do more work in a sense, even though the 51 is the will and there's
Sort of
a
what I'm
work there.
saying.
The 25 has to receive the crazy of like, what the hell are you doing now? Like, what did you just do? Okay, all right, let's figure it out. Let's handle this too.
Just these exalted places. The 57 is so exalted, it heard through this attunement of its intuition and its right ear and its smell and taste everything we needed to live after we got kicked out of the garden, for instance. Just use that metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And then the exaltation of 51. 51 pours into the vessel of love. So technically 51 pours into 4 gates. I mean, just if you want to look at it that way, it's a reasonable way to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So it pours into the whole thing. It's got the whole thing. It pours into the innocence, and the innocence is part of the vessel.
So shock just shapes the entire sense of identity.
Yep, it sure does.
I feel that.
Well, it's funny because look at the motors that go to the identity. The identity is loaded up with its sacral, and those are the only 2 motors. It's the
Will, yeah.
sacral and the ego. It's like this direct connection. These 2 things. It's the only place the sacral and the ego get a chance to meet, really. because
And
there's no
that's
direct line between the two.
and it's almost like there's always going to be something powering the identity. Either it's the regenerative force of the sacral and the many
Yep.
gates that go to it, or if like the sacral's not into it, the will is like, all right, we're gonna
We're
push on
empowering,
through.
right? And it's absolute conditioning onto the sacral to part of your responses are in acceptance to the tribe because of the love. I mean, through the love and the direction, gate 2, the acceptance of tribe, because it's obvious why there's already acceptance of collective and integration for that matter. But it's not obvious why there would be acceptance of tribe from the identity until you get to this channel. And not just any old boring old tribe with all their rules and work, the individual unique aspect, which really isn't even tribe, but it is at the same time. It totally is. 51 is not fully divorced from tribe, just
No.
as tribe is not divorced from 51.
Yeah,
Can't happen.
yeah, I find, at least for me with my 51, it's like I'm shocked out of the tribe and then I'll go a whole different direction. And sometimes I find cool stuff and sometimes I find like danger, watch out, or sometimes I find something weird. And then if the tribe sees that of value, then it'll like invite it in to incorporate in. Because otherwise this tribe would also stagnate. If the tribe didn't have a new individual like, hey, there's something weird coming around the bend, or I found this new thing, we should check this out. It keeps the tribe fresh with the individual, and that, hey, okay, maybe that little individual that's a little mutant, but I guess she's still one of ours.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at all the other circuitry, like the collective to the individual circuitry, there's all kinds of spots where it connects. It connects in the head, it connects in the ajna, it connects in the dada, it connects everywhere. When you look at the identity, it only connects here, But yet the sacral even meets the collective in the identity. It meets it everywhere, all over the place. We need this. We need the individual inside the tribe, or the tribe does exactly as you said. It atrophies without it's not just new blood, it's newness, it's mutation.
New anything that's going to come along the way, or like, hey, we have to go in a new direction. And like the 2551, as I see it, is just like, it's like a
The shocker
machete.
of a direction,
Well,
absolutely.
it's like the machete that's like cutting through the jungle. And it's either like,
Easily, yeah.
get behind me or get out of my way. Because if you're in my way, it'll become the samurai sword coming at you. But if you like either cheer me on, get behind me, and I can forge that new direction with that 5125. So
Together with its partner individual channel of 14 and 2, these are both 2 of only 6 channels that are in the Wa. Do I got that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 channels in the Wa. Yep.
future episode, I got it planned.
It's funny counting that way. I see
Yeah.
in color, everyone. I see in color. But so again, it's part of so many different things. It's just part of so many things. I think 51 shocks things into motion, and 57 has the enormous clarity to ride that wave. And with that, we move and do not stagnate. It's not just tribal non-stagnation, it's humanity's non-stagnation. It's here in 51. It's pretty cool.
Next up, we have our incarnation crosses for the week. First up, we have the right angle cross of penetration, which adds the 53 and the 54 to the 57 and 51 we've been discussing. These are highly intuitive, aware people capable of discerning penetration, a clarity that guides ambition with a competitive edge toward beginning something new in order to assuage our fears for tomorrow. Then we'll move into the juxtaposition cross of intuition, which adds the 62 and the 61 to the 57 and 51. These are deeply profound and inspiring people. They break you open with their intuition, detail, knowing, and shock so you can receive the message. And then finally, we'll move into the left angle cross of the clarion, which also adds the 62 and the 61. These are intuitive people expected to carry essential and inspired information, which others need or want to hear, who need to be sought out and pressured to speak.
Yeah, or they're already speaking and ready for it. But back at the beginning, penetration, that's all the thing can do. It takes on the name of 57 and 51, frankly, and penetrating awareness, penetration. And so the awareness that they have, this highly intuitiveness, along with its splenic guidance, means moment to moment, the highly intuitive become capable of discerning and getting that clarity that does guide the ambition. Now, why ambition? It could have been a lot of words, because 53 and 54 come in unconsciously. That's that little corner of the root center on the top left that goes up to the channel of maturation, 53, or off to the channel of being driven, the tribal drive to succeed, essentially, and to stay clean within certain boundaries and to be good for the tribe, but to really just rise up. Ambition is part of the keynote of Gate 54. So it is penetrating, it is ambitious. And the thing is, it's got this competitive edge. So you put competitiveness with drive into the tribe, pointing at Gate 32, that is, conservative in nature and helps put, a little governor on all of that so that it gets its best. 32 helps squeeze out the right thing because everything else is just hungry to go. 57 sees, 51 is just ready to jump, 54 is hungry to rise up, and 53 just wants to start. It's just hungry to start. Let's start something because it's abstract, experiential. Let's start the thing. All of the things, when you add those in, the ambition, it is about starting something new because it's got 53 in there. So it can get a little bit crazy if you're always starting something new. We must listen to this spleen because it guides you to the thing that's worth 32's holding on to give some continuity, and think about the other side. How good does 32 and 42 go together? They're coming up next. We're making definition in this movement, by the way. And 42 part of the Maya, 32 part of the Maya. These two gates, one wants to complete the thing and bring it through maturation. The other wants to make sure it was all safe while we did that. And if we need to make any changes, I'm the one who's aware without those moments of what needs to be changed and what needs to be stayed with. This thing was designed to bring new stuff. Don't let it run out of control. This thing is fast. It's just fast. Quick, quick, quick. I want to quick do the thing. So if you have this cross, understand you move too fast. And if you can't get behind that, look closer because you move too fast sometimes, enough times to where you need to understand that. Why? And the juxtaposition, this intuition, I wouldn't even want to run into these guys unless I'm totally on their team. Right? Period. They have to be on my team or else because they're going to be so profoundly in this one fixed way that's going to be wicked important to them. And they'll be wicked important to us. And then the clarion. I love the clarion. Ra-Uru-Hu was a clarion on the other side. 51-5 was in his son. Line 5. But the clarion is meant to trumpet the news. What is the story? Is it a Greek or Roman original story? The Corinthians maybe or something? Somebody. The clarions were these people that would get out with their bugle and trumpet the news. Or might even be, sent on a mission to go trumpet the news in the kingdom over there so that everyone was on the same page. Or they had their own thing to get out there. These guys were the infamous, the cat that came to town, and we have to determine if he's a heretic or not. That very much is the clarion. Hi, I'm totally aware. I'm bringing something new. I have ambition. Oh my God, I'm deeply, profoundly inspired at this point in time. Oh my God, I've got to tell everyone. I've got to make this work. Everyone will have this, or at least have the opportunity. That's what drives this piece of motion. And again, it moves right into 2 definitions on the next cross. A lot of definition sparks up here. This is a place where duality is really coming to life as it relates to its capacity to be dualistic and maintain it with life force, lots of life force.
You ready for some history of
Yeah.
clarion?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So the clarion, also known as the clarin, was a high-pitched natural trumpet used primarily in the Middle Ages and Renaissance in Europe. Unlike modern valve trumpets, it relied on the player's embouchure to produce a limited harmonic series of notes. The instrument's name comes from the Latin claris, which means clear or loud. It influenced later brass designs in the 19th, 20th century. Clarions in mythology. In Greek mythology, the clarion is associated with Clio, one of the 9 muses and the goddess of history and heroic poetry. Her name derives from the Greek kleos, glory or fame, linking her to epic tales of valor. Clio is often depicted holding a scroll or a book in her left hand, symbolizing written history, and a clarion, a trumpet, in her right, representing the proclamation of glorious deeds through song and story.
Clarion, trumpet the news in this case, because it's a human clarion, not a brass instrument or a clarinet. And it's moving into the cross of the Maya, so this whole thing makes actual sense. The whole thing actually makes sense because once the news is out, what is the cross of the Maya all about as a right angle thing? It's about us uniquely, individually, solving the mysteries with the details floating amongst the people. within the people, in the Maya, in the tapestry of the life, not outside of it. There's not a lot of aloofness in the Maya.
Next up, we have our hexagrams for the week. We have the sun in gate 57, which is intuitive insight. And in my I Ching book, it reads as subtly penetrating. And the trigrams are wind over wind. The image reads, wind follows wind, subtly penetrating. Wind follows wind, subtly penetrating. A noble one conveys mandates and carries out the work. Wind begets wind. Movement creates movement, and the influence penetrates everywhere. This is a time to use your own inner seal of office to translate what moves you inwardly into your influence in the world. When a noble one receives a mandate, she conveys it onward by sending out orders, and so her indirect influence reaches further than direct action ever could.
Well, it's that indirectness. 57 just sits in the spleen, but the activity of it is on the ends of the other three gates it connects to. When it connects to gate 20, the brainwave itself, which is mostly what this intuitive insight is referring to, is its capacity to then articulate this. Its articulation gets carried into the wind, and then people carry it on from there. That's the whole idea of this thing. So it really takes many to get it out, or it just takes the one. But either way, it starts at this extraordinary piece of clarity. Wind over wind, let the message be carried. I could, write it on a piece of paper and throw it up, and it can land.
And then we have gate 51, which is arousing and shock. And the trigrams are thunder over thunder, thunder over and under, as Ra would say. The image reads, rolling thunder, shock. A noble one in fear and dread sets things in order and is watchful. When the outer world is shaken up, the noble one is also inwardly shaken. He is wide awake now, quivering with awareness of the changes underway, and ready to take on responsibility for restoring life to harmony.
I love that quivering with awareness as to what's underway. That sounds really accurate to 51. 51's not obtuse. At the moment the thing is underway, 51 and 25 will be the first things aware that we're underway. And 57 is the thing. So everything that this thing just said, it knows it's in there, but 57 knows as well. 57 is going to end up having certain answers about all of this, which is why the extraordinary clarity that can come into 51 is ending up knowing what it's going to go into. But as the thing was saying, as you were just saying, that thunder over thunder is simply a shaking up process for which 51 is uniquely designed with ego willpower to roll up its sleeves and do the thing, especially when it involves leaping into something that it hadn't leaped into just 2 minutes earlier. It's sudden. Again, why the shocking? I remember one time he said something like lightning and thunder over and under. He just wanted to add a couple words, but the gods of thunder over and under, they do arouse through gate 51. It's worth pointing out 51 shocks the initial conception of the sperm and the egg. It's there. That's what lights up, is this channel of initiation, 51 and 25. I find that amazing.
It's also within the I Ching, it's like the thunder is what wakes up the world at the end of the winter and into the spring. It's like, I believe thunder is the last main trigram that we hit as the foundation before we hit into spring.
Oh, yes. Yes, when we get over onto the 51 side, Braveheart. Braveheart is the perfect example, as well as the thing he played in the movie The Patriot. Both Mel Gibson, not my fault, but this type of shocking bravery that was shocking in the face of what might even seem insurmountable, and the withstanding of it. Those are obviously, pretty grave examples. There's many of them, but yeah, I feel good with this.
So tying it all together, what can we tell our audience? What can they play with? What can they see? How can they engage with the sun in gate 57 and the earth in gate 51?
Just be prepared to notice that you're noticing things and you have sudden awareness that you didn't have a moment ago, and that'll be easy to miss. And if you're waiting for it because you're thinking about it, you'll almost definitely miss a lot of it. It's only when you're not looking that you get to see it. That's a funny quandary. Oh, the irony to that. So be prepared to take in messages that aren't what you normally take in. You probably have examples of that at this time of year, each year somehow. If you look back through, sometimes I look back through my calendar, right? Because this is a time to look back through your calendar and just try and remember dates or days or times around this time, what might have been going on in your life, and you'll find this is definitely the time that we get brave and our intuition leads the way. And so this is a process of witnessing that and sort of allowing that to just get into your DNA, into your feelings of things. You may not fully feel that keynoted phrase I just said, but some aspect of that you probably will. And my whole thing is allow that. This thing grounds itself in incredible, motorized power to withstand. So trust that.
Yeah, and it's interesting too with like the Earth being in gate 51, so being grounded in the shock, like that's kind of funny, being able to find our grounding even in the kind of chaos
Well,
of
I mean, that's
shock.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah. It says some groundings are in shock. Apparently we're uniquely capable of that, adaptive to that, adaptation. 51 has keynotes like No Tomorrow, the lines. It keynotes line 3, it keynotes line 6 easily. It keynotes the investigator with reference, like big time. I forget what 2 is. It's probably something obnoxious. Like I fell into it and everyone had to get stuck with it.
absolutely. And also, I will say, when gate 51 is around, it's another one of those times where I'm like, be extra careful driving,
Yeah.
because, yeah, there might be some added chaos, or whether you're handling it well, maybe somebody else isn't. So, kind of be extra careful. And also, that, yeah, people might be feeling a little bit more will and competitive and a little more, fighty in that way. So, kind of just let them. Like,
Right.
don't fight people, especially, like, I remember Ross saying, because he had the 2551 and he learned to not like argue with people when people came up to him with something, because they'd end up using his will against him.
Yep.
So learning to just be like, that's great, that's real interesting, good on ya, because people can get a little weird and fighty with this energy in positive and negative ways. You can do it as like a competitive spirit to like go in a new direction, and you can make it this really positive thing, or people can just, be lost in the energy and be kind of puppets to it and maybe acting a little a fool.
Yeah. It's easy to do. Fighting is 51. 51 can be absolutely a fighter without knowing why it even started in the first place. It will just rile up the rousing of the stagnant. But in your life, as this transits us for these 6.5 days, I like to just, every time I see this transit, I like to just think to myself, this is where almost like clairvoyance can come, and various things that almost feel mystical in nature, because both of these things are in the pulse. They're both meant to empower. They're both here to create life force, because that's what they do when the wheel turns. Just one more nugget. We're loaded with new life force. That's what this is here for. This is here ushering in life force. And that all by itself just seems beyond ordinary. And that's what I recommend you live out this week. Live out something that's a little bit beyond ordinary.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you to everyone who's watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, hanging out with us, asking questions. We love having you, and we will catch you next week for another transit.
Absolutely. Love you, everyone. Next time.